Hey guys, sorry about that. Recorder just cut off on me. Um, go watch part one first before you see this video because it's pretty important to see how the sequencing went. But essentially, what happened was that our opponent decides to Murderous Cut our Young Pyromancer end of turn. So what we do is that we Spell Pierce, Murderous Cut, holding priority, remand our Spell Pierce, draw a card, so that we are able to get a couple more elemental tokens out of it because we want a minimum of 3 tokens. And now back to this. So our opponent lets our remand resolve. We get our Spell Pierce back, draw a card, which is Murderous Cut, allowing us to be able to kill Gurmag Angler for 1 mana. And this was another mistake I made too when thinking of this play, was we just decided to Murderous Cut Gurmag Angler, get our token, and then we just let Murderous Cut resolve. We didn't try to Spell Pierce it again, which we should have. Just get another elemental token out of it because it's going to be dead in the way. So having the board 3 creatures just shows that we have lethal next turn. Our opponent draws Delver's Secrets, giving him 1 more turn to draw it out. So if we cast a Spell Pierce, we would have won this turn. But fortunately for us, we were able to just draw more counter magic. So this way, if our opponent decides to draw something big, we can be able to Mana Leak and Spell Pierce in the same turn, hopefully be able to shut it off. Opponent draws Serum Visions, gets his card off it, which is, wait for it, a Mana Leak. Unfortunately, when he decides to do his Scry, the top card of his library was, in fact, as you can see right about here, the Lightning Bolt. So, sad for him, he had 1 more turn. We probably could have been able to win the game a few turns earlier than that. But I want people to know who are playing the Grixis Delver deck to know that kind of play that we could make with Spell Pierce, hold priority, remand, Spell Pierce again, like just keep going because you could draw a lot of cards and just get a lot of card advantage off Young Pyromancer himself. So sideboarding how it went was we decided to bring in Staticaster as ways of killing Abbott, Delver, and Snapcaster Mage. I didn't know whether or not he had Young Pyromancer or not, but it's just safer just to have is it Staticaster? Because in this matchup, I feel like since we're on the draw, we want to become more controlling. Not Radiant Flames kind of controlling, because it doesn't kill Gurmag Angler or Tassiger. So we bring in Staticaster, all 3 Dispel, and take out a Delver, the Mana Leak, the Spell Pierce, and a Probe. We take out those cards just because it's going to be a longer game. Our opponent's probably going to have more removal. So take out the condition or the soft counters like these. Take out a Delver just because he's probably going to have more removal for it. And take out a Probe because we don't want to deal as much damage to ourselves. So we'll try to get in game 2 now. So now on this one, still top player right here. Our hand is pretty interesting here since we have double counter magic plus terminate for whatever play he has. So the reason why we decided to keep this hand is, the main reason is that we're going to be playing the control game. So it's good to have more lands plus counter magic available and a kill spell than just a random 6 plus a scry. And then also, since this game's going to be a grind matchup, I don't want to mulligan this hand if he does decide to Kolaghan's Command me. So that way we can just pitch like a Blood Crypt or something to the Kolaghan's Command discard effect. So it's, in my opinion, just smarter to keep these 3. And since we are on the draw, if our opponent decides to mulligan, we will mulligan after they decide to mulligan, since we are the draw. So it's just the active player decides to mulligan first, then the non-active player. So it's just better to wait until your opponent decides for that. So if our opponent decided to mulligan his hand, we might have mulliganed our hand. I don't know for sure. So now for the game to officially start. We do still get the draw step from this, so we're not always going to be down cards here. Our opponent does get to have Serum Visions turn 1, so his draws are probably going to be a little bit better than ours. Or at least his next draw, after seeing now that he just has fetch lands. So he could just hold up fetch lands for a while and just draw the 2 cards that he wants. But he decides to bottom top. We draw Thought Scour, which is really good for us, so that way we don't stay behind in card advantage. So here we can just fetch on a turn, probably grab an island, make him think that we're playing Blood Moon, and Thought Scour ourselves. So we decided to do this just because we decided to get basics because it's going to be a longer match. It's going to be painful. So we already have the 2 colors we need right here. And we do draw Bolt. We also have another color of land right here. So here we do want to kind of make him think, are we playing Blood Moon? And so if we play that little mind game with him, he might just have to play that game too. Are we playing Blood Moon? Which he does decide to go for, because of the way that we fetch for basic and just hold up the fetch land. So that plan kind of worked out, making his mana base just a tad bit worse as well. And we have in our hand just like all the multicolored lands that we need for the rest of the game, pretty much. Go for the fetch, holding up the 2 dispels just in case if he were to have, like, what is it? Shadow of Doubt. And we have Bolt in case of any kind of like kill spell. And this is like one of the situations where I just love Darkslick Shores. 2 colors, comes in untapped within the first few turns. And excuse me. It's just painless. So that's like one of the best cards that I've been using for a while. I don't want to upgrade it or add any more to it, just because it's perfectly fine as a 1-of. Fortunately for us, our opponent's just been drawing lands. And if our opponent decides to go for a Gurmag Angler or anything like that, we do have Terminate plus double Dispel backup. But our opponent decides to go for Snapcaster Mage instead, so we could just bolt that off in response to whatever spell he decides to play. Like if he decides to draw and play a cantrip like Sphere Visions, we bolt off so he can't counter it, hopefully. Which our opponent does have Dispel, but it's fine. I feel like it's a smart play just to let it resolve too. And he is playing the variant with 2 Fork Bolt. So our Snapcaster Mages and Pyromancers aren't going to be doing well this game. And the good news for us is that we're just drawing more and more actual cards, not just lands, unlike our opponent who is drawing more lands than us. And now we actually have some pretty good targets for Snapcaster Mage. And here, we don't really care whether or not if he decides to land a big creature or not. So we're just digging as much as possible. And we find, is it Staticaster? So that way we can be able to just lock out any of the bigger creatures or any of the smaller creatures that he has. And we have Dispel backup for Lightning Bolts. Now I believe the play that he does here is that he plays Mountain, fetches, and plays Gurmag Angler. I believe that's his play. Or I'm not sure if he plays the Mountain or not. Yeah, he decides to go for the Fetch Shock, and Serum Visions first, fills up the graveyard a little more, get a little bit of advantage of it, and draws Bitter Blossom. Now, this card is interesting for bringing it in against the Delver matchup just because we have answers to cards like this. Not in the form, like we have Engineer Explosives, but we don't really bring that in. We don't have answers for the enchantment, but we have plenty of answers for the creatures themselves in the form of Fork Bolt and Terminates, and well, not Terminate, but we have Fork Bolt, Electrolyze, and stuff like that. So it's fine letting that resolve, and by letting this resolve, it allows us to just Staticaster away the tokens. And the plan is here, if we're going to allow him to get 2 tokens into play because we want as much mana in play as possible. So then we can be able to double Dispel backup in case if he does have like a Lightning Bolt effect or a Terminate. Because we want this thing to put in a lot of work. So we're just going to prepare ourselves as much as possible, get as much mana into play, and be able to protect it and just keep that Bitter Blossom off balance. And we accidentally revealed Delver Secrets from the scry. And our 2 cards are Gurmag Angler and Delver Secrets. And Gurmag Angler is probably the win con for this matchup, not Delver Secrets as much. So we just decided to bomb the Delver anyway. And so here, we're fine letting him get the token now. It's not going to do anything to us just yet. And by letting him do this, he loses a life, which I don't like this card in this matchup because of that. We're already dealing enough damage to ourselves that it is. So I'd rather just have just more protection instead of just the grind card. And with card, he decides to draw Abbot of Carol Keep, which is pretty good. But he decides to play Grimmaw Gingler instead, which not bad at all. Fine with that. And with this, because we see that he actually has black tapped out, I think it is safe to probably go for the Terminate now. Just get rid of that Grimmaw Gingler and not worry about as counter magic as much, because we can protect against a Dispel like this is right here. So we get rid of the Grimmaw Gingler, Dispel gets work done, and now we have Snapcaster Mage plus a Dispel ready to go. So here, just play our own Grimmaw and pass turn. We're fine taking 1 point of damage from a Fairy Rogue, because we're already at 18 life. We have plenty of life to work with right now. This next turn is going to put our opponent down to 11 life, because he's just going to be losing a life each turn because of the Bitter Blossom. And Staticaster has plenty of work to be put in to just handle those. Yeah, Grimmaw Gingler is just really good in this matchup. Opponent decides to attack for 1. Fine with that. Go down to 17. Because Bitter Blossom's not going to be the thing killing us right now, because at the current rate, he's going to die from it before we are, because of things like Izzet Staticaster. Opponent decides to go for Terminate on the Angler, which is fine. We counter it. Have Snapcaster Mage plus Dispel ready to go. And here we take a little risk in case of something like Bolt, just so then we can get rid of Abbot first. Or not Abbot, we want to get rid of the Fairy Rogues first, because Abbot does have a Prowess trigger from the Terminate. So just wipe off the tokens, make sure that those are just taken care of. And now during our turn we can just ping off the Abbot. And now we actually draw Kolaghan's Command too, so our Staticaster is safe for a while. And if he were to die, we could just get it back. Attack for 5, put him down to 6. And after this next turn, he's going to go down to 5 again from the Bitter Blossom. And we could just kill him off with Staticaster. That's our plan. And if he decides to figure out a way to kill Staticaster, we have Kolaghan's Command to shock the creature and force him to discard and just win with the Grimmaw Gingler. If he kills Grimmaw Gingler, then we force him to discard, bring back Grimmaw Gingler with the Kolaghan's Command, and just keep grinding out value. So here he does decide to go for Grimmaw Gingler, and instead of that play, I decided to go for Snapcaster Mage plus Dispel, and this way it protects Grimmaw Gingler from Terminates, because he no longer has a black mana source that we could see at the moment. And so we're able to Dispel the Terminate, protect that, and now it forces him from his current hand that we don't really know of too much yet. It forces him to do 2 to Izzet Staticaster with Fork Bolt, and then Fork Bolt again, be able to kill off these 2 together, which is a fine play. It's 2 for 2, not bad card advantage wise. You're still at equal pace at that point, but now this pretty much just gives us the win. And he decides not to go for Tasigur, which I find to be the wrong play, because now we just shock off the Fairy and we win. So yeah, that's the matchup that we had. As you're going to see here, we're going to get in the 5 points damage. It's found it a pretty interesting matchup, got in the win. Showed him a little bit of the deck that we built here, and I find it a pretty strong deck right now in the upcoming meta. Hopefully we get to see more of this deck performing soon, and I will see you guys next time because my recorder is just about to end. So thanks for watching.